समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
India can't get enough of Dhurandhar. The movie is a blockbuster hit and it's literally a craze sweeping across the country. But guess which other country is obsessed with Dhurandhar? Pakistan. Pakistan is hardly the good guy in the film, the exact opposite. And yet, Pakistan is obsessed. Reports suggest that Dhurandhar is the most pirated Bollywood film in Pakistan in recent memory. Dhurandhar shines a light on several inconvenient truths about Pakistan, from gang wars in Karachi to Pakistan's patronage of terrorism, something India has witnessed firsthand with both the Pahalgam terror attack and the Delhi car blast attack this year. The cost of terrorism, something that India has experienced and paid the price for decades altogether. The movie shines a light on characters that are clearly inspired from real-life characters, including that of National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. In a moment from now, we'll be talking to Sushant Sareen to look at Dhurandhar's Pakistan Truths. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo Story. India can't get enough of Dhurandhar, and nor, it seems, can Pakistan. From the background score to the debate around the depiction of Rehman Dakait, a Karachi warlord or gang lord, call it what you will, Akshay Khanna, Ranveer Singh, and of course Madhavan, who seems to be playing the role of a real-life Ajit Doval. IC-814, the 2611 attacks, and Layari in Karachi form the real-life backdrops for the movie that is, in a way, taking over not just public imagination, but also public discourse. The movie is obsessing Pakistanis. Its music is now being replicated at Pakistani weddings. Balochis are discussing the depiction of their community, and everybody has some opinion about Dhurandhar. But the movie comes against the backdrop of another eventful week in real-life Pakistan, a week in which Pakistan's former spy chief was sent to jail for 14 years by its military. Faiz Hamid was court-martialed, making this the first such instance of an ISI, a former ISI chief, actually being sentenced to jail. He is, of course, seen as Imran Khan's man. Imran Khan continues to be in jail. It's also a week in which Washington has approved a $686 million upgrade for an F-16 deal with Pakistan, a week in which Asim Munir has yet again consolidated his hold over every institution of Pakistan. Dhurandhar shines a light on several Pakistan truths. I want to welcome now our newsmaker to the program. Sushant Sareen is with us. Sushant Sareen is one of India's foremost strategic affairs minds. He's never pulled his punches on Pakistan. And Dhurandhar should be a movie after his own heart. But we were just talking before the show started. He hasn't seen it yet, and I haven't seen it yet. And we both hope to be able to do that this weekend. Notwithstanding that, Sushant, we have enough of a sense of what the movie is about, the real life episodes that it actually draws inspiration from. What do you think it is about Dhurandhar, without either of us having seen it yet, which we hope to rectify very soon, that has not just Indians obsessed, but the Pakistanis obsessed as well?
Barkha, maybe the answer is a very simple one, that it's just a fabulously made film. I've just seen rushes, as probably you have. And it's a movie I want to see because the kind of footage which I've seen, on social media, makes me want to go and see it. And maybe people have gone to see this movie with all the blood, the gore, the kind of story which has been told, the compelling storyline, all of that. All of that aside, if you make a film well, which holds people to their seats, which wows them, which has good music, great acting, superb direction, very tightly knit film, people will go and watch it. Now, for all those idiots, in the social media space, some who are saying this is anti-Muslim, some who are saying anti-Pakistan propaganda film. Damn it, which film in the world which has any political content is not propaganda? Every bloody film is a propaganda. Every story you tell has a certain propaganda value to it. You mean to tell me that when Raj Kapoor was making his films, those was not propaganda films? When our man Bharat, what was that guy's name? Yeah,
Manoj Kumar. Manoj Kumar. Huh.
Was that propaganda? So I can't understand, number one, what is the problem people have with propaganda? When Om Puri was acting in that film Akrosh, that wasn't propaganda. Weren't the leftists trying to show us that the Naxalites were really these men of gold who really wanted a very equal society? Don't we know what the Naxalites are all about, what the Maoists are all about? How horrendously criminal they were, how barbaric they were. Don't we know it all? But you catch Bollywood showing you. So this kind of breastbeating that I've seen is mindless. There have been movies made on political topics, including by people like Vivek Agnihotri. He's got some hits and he's got many misses, right? He made Bengal Files after a topic which is extremely important. But maybe people didn't like the film because maybe people thought it is not a well-made film. But they saw Kashmir Files and they thought it was fabulously made and they went and saw it. So, movies should be taken as movies. Go and appreciate them if it's a good movie. And that is what probably the explanation is. And of course, there is a certain curiosity value because I think it's a brilliantly, again, let me qualify, I haven't seen it, but I suspect it's a brilliantly scripted film where you've taken real life characters, very compelling characters, each one of them. Whether it's of course Ajit Doval, who I've had the privilege of working with for some time, whether it is him, whether it is a guy like Rehman Dakait, who was a larger than life figure, Chaudhry Aslam, who was again this super cop in Karachi, notorious for his brutality, for the kind of butchery he did, and in fact the traditions he created in Karachi police, where another of his proteges, a man by the name of Rao Anwar, would catch hold of young Pashtun men and kill them in cold blood, something which gave rise to the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement in Pakistan. Where he just caught hold of this aspiring model and killed him in cold blood because the guy didn't pay him money. And he was a favorite of Asif Zardari, as was Rehman Dakait, as all other despicable character in Karachi, favorite of Asif Zardari and his what do I call that guy? His son, Bilawal Bhutto, favorites of these guys, because these are the people who give them protection. These are the people who give them all kinds of monies, everything. So Rao Anwar used to be called by Asif Zardari Mera Beta, like he calls Mohsin Naqvi Mera Beta, the current PCB chief and interior minister. So these were very compelling characters. And people who say that this is fiction, you have been a journalist for many, many decades now.
Yeah.
Reality is often much more nasty than what they show in fiction. It's actually more, it's more stark and it's more unbelievable than what they show in fiction. Especially in the line, the kind of stuff which we are talking about. So whether it's Chaudhry Aslam, Rehman Dakait, which I believe it's this guy Nabil Gabol. Nabil Gabol is on public television. You can look at him and you know that he's a slime ball of the highest order, right? A typical Pakistan People's Party guy, a man who did his politics in Liari, who was known to be involved with all these groups. The politics which is shown out there, I think it very much conforms to what is happening. So the bottom line is that you pick up these kind of very compelling characters who are real life and you weave a fictional account around them, which makes for an extremely compelling story. So if people want to go and see a well-made film, What's the problem?
And I just want to say that every war and espionage film made in any part of the world is going to be made from the perspective of that country. Like, I cannot think of a single movie, which has been different. And the second most irritating dimension of some of the choo-choo that has come from certain quarters, not too much, has been to conflate Pakistan with Indian Muslims. I mean, I don't see the connection. I don't think there's any connection. And I think India's Muslims would be very offended by those who draw that link.
Yeah, tell me something, Barkha. In Indian films, Bollywood films, there would be a few films, but bulk of the films, I would say 90% of the films have always shown Indian Muslims to be great friends, very loyal people, excellent human beings, etc., etc. Right? And some films show them to be part of a terrorist network, part of a criminal gang. It's a movie. Okay. Learn to take it for what it is. Now, number one, if there is, even if this, let me say, I accept this is a propaganda film against Pakistan. What is the problem of Indians with that?
No problem. Why the hell should we not make a propaganda film? Look at the year we've been through.
Exactly.
And the years we've been through. Yeah.
So what's the damn problem with a propaganda film? Why do I have to lionize? The kind of drivel which people like Kabir Khan or these Yash Raj films or all these fellows, even the latest Family Man series.
But those were also hits. Pathan and Jawan were also hits. A lot of people like them too.
That's drivel. Because if you hear Mr. Vikram Sood, the former RAW chief, he says, ISI and RAW are friends only in films, or maybe in one particular case that I don't want to take any names. But other than that, they hate each other quite naturally. So it's like KGB and CIA or any of these organizations which have been rivals. You can't expect the Iranian intelligence services or the IRGC to be very great pals with the Mossad guys, right? Especially when the Mossad guys are gunning them down and hunting them down, all kinds of other things. So the point is the kind of drivel that Yash Raj films or any of these other filmmakers show, which is utter nonsense, utter bullshit, and aren't those propaganda where they're trying to tell us that, the ISI guys actually want to have peace with India, they love India, we can have a love affair with them. These people should be ashamed, this Kabir Khan type of people should be ashamed of themselves. And they themselves admit that they've done propaganda.
But so my view would be that if movie is just a movie, all kinds of movies have the space to exist. We have the right to like them, dislike them, love them, hate them. Agreed?
Yeah, for the longest, we have seen that if there is a Rajput or a Thakur Sahab in a film, he must be evil. He will have these mustaches. He will be, oppressing his people. He will be brutal. He will be cruel. He will be grabbing other people's women and properties. Haven't we typecast the Rajputs in a certain way? Haven't we typecast the Brahmins, these bloody Bollywoodia types who don't know their backside from the front? Haven't they done all this with certain communities in India? Why haven't all these people who are going into paroxysms of rage ever reacted that why are you typecasting particular communities in a particular way? Why haven't they done it? These people have no shame. They are hypocritical. They are worse than vermin, if you ask me. And I would never have said anything. I would have said, okay, you don't like a film, you don't like a film. But when they start attributing these kind of motives, that is what gets my goat. That listen, where were you guys when all these other Rang De Basanti, you are glorifying Khalistani terrorism and you are trying to justify it, defend it. Just because the damn Gulzar makes it, it doesn't mean that it's justified. And all these have justified every wrong in the world.
Why can't all kinds of movies exist as movies? Why do we have to hate? Why do we have to feel so agitated over any movie? Is my question.
People made Heather. I saw Heather. I might have my grouses with it. I didn't even think it was a great movie, but I went and saw it. Okay. But what were they trying to do? They tried to justify what was happening in Kashmir, in the sense the separatism in Kashmir, in a very understated, in a very subtle propagandist way, right? The movie was released. People liked it. Some didn't like it. Some lambed it. But tell me something, all these so-called critics who have gone completely batshit crazy trying to condemn this movie. If they had not done this, we would not be having this conversation. We would probably just have a conversation on what are the aspects of reality, not reality.
Mm.
We would have just seen the film, had fun, and forgotten about it. My anger, my rage against these people is their sheer rank hypocrisy and the kind of brainlessness with which they have come out. And they have never taken these same positions when it involved other communities in India. But suddenly, heavens have started falling on them because an Aditya Dhar has made a kick-ass film.
But
And they can't.
by the way, some of the responses have been quite surprising. For example, Mehbooba Mufti's daughter, Iltija Mufti, not exactly known for moderate views on anything otherwise, has said, "Oh, I don't understand. I really like the film. I thought it was a very well-made film."
Yeah, so even weird people sometimes come out with proper responses, and it's probably one of those cases. She has weird positions on virtually everything under the sun. But yes, I can't hold any grudges with her, and I think that is the most sensible way of looking at the film. It's a movie, and I don't think anybody can claim, although the Pakistanis, like typical idiots that they are, including a couple of police officers and others, have said this is a mea culpa of India. Arey yaar, there is a certain story which has been weaved there are certain facts, and then you weave in fiction in facts to make a film about something. It does not mean mea culpa. It is not government of India giving you a stamp paper that yes, we were doing certain things. Now, if Indians want to be very happy with Karachi gang violence, in which certain people who were also carrying out operations against India have been killed by one of their own, how is it a mea culpa of India? Supposing I want to take credit for it, I can take credit for it. But that does not mean that I have done it, right? So in India, all kinds of views exist, all kinds of wackos are there on social media who are willing to take credit for all kinds of things. Everything which happens in the world is supposedly Mr. Modi's. Apparently, from the Pakistanis, Modi saw the script of this also, and he approved the script. Now, do you think a guy like Mr. Modi has the bloody time of the day to watch a script like this, to analyze a script and tell them कि इसको रख लो, इसको निकाल दो?
Yeah, but okay, but outside of the sort of wackadoo theories, of around the movie, let's talk a little bit about this intercutting between fact and fiction. The movie is obviously a sort of semi-real film. It's set against the backdrop of real events: IC-814, 2611, the gang wars in Karachi's Layari. Real people, Ajmal Kasab, Rehman Dakait. These are all people who have existed, who are real, and therefore. And I will reserve my judgment on this particular aspect till I've seen the film. Some people have argued, can you blur fact and fiction? Can you blur fact and fiction? So Rehman Dakait, real guy, links to the PPP, perhaps as you were saying, linked to Benazir Bhutto's assassination, but also in the movie evidently, and I don't want to give away spoilers, but evidently also linked to 2611. So people might start bringing a kind of, okay, how much of it is real, how much of it is timelines blurred. What do you think of that debate?
No, look, that is a natural debate. I don't deny the fact that, it's like people seeing Mughal Azam and saying that this is what the Mughal Empire was all about. Now, come on. If anybody is telling me that Mughal Azam made by K. Hasif or that other movie, Jodha Akbar, I think that was the new one.
Mm.
Those are, again, it's some facts and then you fictionalize a certain fact and make it into a romantic story. Please tell me, many of the people in this country, many of them, I can't say the percentage, I suspect it will be a very high percentage, their history of Akbar's reign would be either Mughal Azam or Jodha Akbar. Now, how real is that? Why should Jodha Akbar then be made? Please tell me. So that's the same argument in this particular case, isn't it? That it's a movie. It's not as though the makers of this film have said this is the reality and we are showing you reality. Okay, they've said, yeah, that it's weaved around real incidents and it's a fictional account. Fair enough, it's a fictional account. Now, if somebody wants to only see the real aspects of it and imagine the entire movie is real and there was a guy like this who went and did whatever he did, and it helps them sleep better, good for them. That does not make it real. Okay,
Yeah,
so
and
I
they can
think
and they can make the effort to read 4 articles about it if they want to find out what actually
there
happened.
there are reams and reams that have been published in Pakistan on what was happening in Liari at that point of time. Do you know, even before the Taliban did it, the Liari gangs had done it. There was a certain gang war. One lot had killed another lot. They beheaded the guy and they played football with that guy's head in Liari. This happened before the Taliban did it to the Pakistan army soldiers. So
Yeah.
these Liari had become an area where the worst kind of violence was happening, and it was being done under political patronage of this great progressive Pakistan People's Party of Benazir Bhutto and her dissolute son, this
Bilawal,
fellow.
Bilawal,
Yeah,
Bilawal.
yeah, uh, right. And of course the father, who is, you can call him whatever you want to call, and some of his aides who are now his advisors in government.
I mean, the father is probably one of the most Machiavellian, for lack of a better word. I don't know what to say about.
And so are some of his advisors who are right now with him, because he has this low cunning, right? Asif Zardari has low cunning. He tries to act as though he's very smart, but please tell me, what has he achieved? His party, which was a national party in Pakistan, is now reduced to a few districts of Sindh, interior Sindh, not even Karachi, right? But he sponsored the Karachi gangs partly because that was his pushback against the MQM, which was ruling the roost in Karachi.
So you need to explain. You have to explain this to people who have no idea. Basically, Rehman Dakait, who comes up as a sort of gang lord in Liari in Karachi, is linked closely. The movie shows this, but so do the facts, to Benazir's PPP. In any case, this is Sindh. This is where the PPP dominates. And what plays out is kind of a proxy political war between the PPP and the party of Muhajirs, who are the people who originally went from India to Pakistan, the MQM. Just explain this, for people who know nothing.
So Karachi was predominantly a Sindhi city until partition. And I think it was dominated by the Hindus, who then were ethnically cleansed from Karachi and had to flee. So the Sindhi Hindu came out to India, and the Sindhi of Karachi was reduced to a minority by the influx of people who went from UP, Bihar, and these areas. CP is Madhya Pradesh, and this entire belt, Gujarat, who went to Pakistan, and many of these people gravitated to Karachi because that was the capital when Pakistan was created. The capital to Islamabad was moved much later on. I think in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken, late 60s, they started moving the capital, but finally moved much later. So Karachi was the capital, and as is natural, it's like a lot of the Punjabi diaspora which came into India, your family included, came to Delhi because it was the capital. So it was a natural. So the local Sindhi was reduced to a minority. Number one. Number two, Liari is an area which is dominated not so much by the Sindhi but by the Baloch. It was Baloch who had come and settled out there for many, many generations. So it was essentially a kind of a township dominated by the Baloch. But again, the Sindhi and the Baloch thing was never as stark as the Muhajir. Muhajirs are the Indian, the Gangetic plain Muslims, for want of a better word, who had migrated to Pakistan. They are called the Muhajirs, who are Urdu speaking. So the Urdu speaking lot was always a daggers drawn with the Sindhi and the Baloch lot, which was in Liari. And Liari was the only part in Karachi where the People's Party had any kind of political prospects, because the rest of Karachi was dominated by MQM. Before MQM, by the Islamist parties like Jamaat-e-Islami and the Jamaat Ulema Pakistan, which is the Barelvi party, not Fazlur Rahman's Jamaat Ulema, Jamiat Ulema Islam, but the JUP, which is the Barelvi. These are the parties, the religious parties used to dominate Karachi politics. And the People's Party was limited only to Liari. So this was their toehold in Karachi, in Karachi's politics. which is where, when these criminal gangs came up, they were patronized by the Pakistan People's Party, which has been ruling the roost in Karachi in many ways. It's certainly from 2008 onwards. So it's been almost 17 years they've had a continuous government. But even before that, they were ruling the roost. And they had a loyal support base in Liari. So they used to patronize these guys who would make sure that they got them the vote. So it got kind of mixed up in the politics of Karachi. It got mixed up in the politics of Sindh. And it got mixed up in all the violence that was taking place in Karachi in general for 2 or 3 decades almost. And this one area where people from People's Party and others could function without the fear of being molested, and had a kind of a counter force which they could deploy if things got pretty sticky between them and the MQM, which also had its own criminal mafias. Many of these guys, Mustafa Kamal and others, have come out of those criminal gangs which were there, which were run by the MQM. Mustafa Kamal, who's right now a minister, now acts. Many of these characters I've known, some of them, not Mustafa Kamal, but some of the others, who act as though, they are holier than thou, but we all have known that they were involved in criminal activity. They were involved in murder, kidnapping, all kinds of other nefarious activities. They were also members of parliament. Or
You've also mentioned the Baloch people, and it's quite interesting. If you see, number of sort of prominent Balochi handles are people of Balochistan. They were initially upset that they didn't want Rehman Dakait to be the face of their people. And they said, हाँ, ये तो सही है how Pakistan has treated the people of Balochistan. The movie captures that very well. But, I'm saying it's touched so many different communities in so many different ways. And Balochistan is something on which, now India has become much more vocal. Wasn't always the case. Today is the case. How do you see that fault line? It's also triggered a very interesting debate within the Balochistan community.
No, so I think, again, a lot of commentary on this thing came in partly because I don't think we also understand the politics in Balochistan or the Baloch politics as such.
Correct.
We tend to, club everybody together, the stereotyping which happens. It's a lazy but an easy way of doing things, of understanding a situation. Stereotyping always helps in a very lazy kind of a way to understand. So I think what happens is that we tend to lump it all together. And the moment we say Baloch, look, even this guy Sarfaraz Bukti, who's a mass murderer and who has been involved in death squads and others, and complete lackey of the Pakistan army, but has the label right now Pakistan People's Party and is chief minister of Balochistan. He's also a Baloch, right?
Yeah.
But is he a Baloch? Do the Baloch admit him as a Baloch in the sense of somebody who hates the sight of the Punjabi army and the Punjabi domination and colonial policies in Pakistan? He's a collaborationist, right, with the Pakistan army. So what happens is that when we talk like this, we tend to lump it all together. And on the other side as well, when people see just bits and pieces of a movie, then they try and imagine certain things which might not be there in the movie. So I think partly it is about that. Partly, I think the fact of the matter is we haven't spoken enough about Balochistan. I wish we would. Because the kind of horrors that are being visited by these Pakistani Punjabi Muslims on the Baloch, I think it's next to nothing. It's in some ways, it's kind of East Pakistan light in some ways. Maybe because the numbers are not as many in Balochistan, so it's East Pakistan light. The kind of genocide they committed in East Pakistan, a lot of it is being done in Balochistan. But, you won't catch the Europeans talking about it. Their human rights and everything stops when it comes to Balochistan. The Americans have always been disingenuous when they talk about human rights. If human rights helps their cause, the Americans talk of it. Otherwise, they are quiet about it. You will not hear them talk about the fact that students are being picked up from universities and disappeared. Their dead bodies are being found thrown in the wilds in Balochistan. You are seeing women being raped. The Pakistan army, mostly Punjabis, going into houses of people, insulting the women, violating that sacred, red line of Chaddar and Chardiwari, violating that. All kinds of things are happening in Balochistan. Nobody talks about it. The Pakistani press, with all these clowns like Hamir and others who will talk about how free the Pakistani press is, will never talk about Balochistan or the starkness of what is happening in Balochistan.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, view this kind of a thing. So, some amount of we need to talk more about Balochistan. But I think, let me see the movie. Let me see how exactly they portrayed it. Rehman Dakait wasn't exactly, or was never treated by the Baloch freedom fighters, for want of a better word, or people who have been arraigned against Pakistan. Rehman Dakait was never their leader. Now, there could have been some parts where, this criminal underworld would probably have some kind of a tacit understanding with some of these other insurgents. There's a lot of toing and froing because smuggling networks are common, a lot of other things are common. Some of that might be happening, but was he supporting that cause? I don't think so. Maybe later on, towards the end, when he was killed, there was some talk that maybe he was hand in glove with some of the Baloch insurgents as well. But maybe that is the time he tried to, switch over. But one of the reasons he is believed to have been killed is because he is suspected of being Asif Zardari. And I'm saying this very carefully, lest you get banned or whatever. There are insinuations, there are suspicions, there are allegations that there were a couple of guys, Rehman Dakait and another guy, Khalid Shahenshah. If you see one of the videos of Benazir Bhutto, I think the last video when she's addressing that in Rawalpindi, there is this guy who is it that or the time when she had come to Karachi? I forget now. There's this guy, Khalid Shahenshah, who's part of a bodyguard brigade and who is making some gesture like this, and there was a lot of controversy on that. And shortly after, I think in 2008 or 2009, Rehman Dakait was killed, and then this guy Khalid Shahenshah was killed very mysteriously. Was it? And these are the allegations. Was Asif Zardari trying to wipe out the slate? Wipe the slate clean? There were others also who have been suspected of being part of that plot. Because the way Asif Zardari, who was being kept out at one point of time, Benazir Bhutto was coming back in 2007, she had studiously kept Asif Zardari in New York and said, "You are not coming back with me. You will have no role to play if I am forming a government." And suddenly she dies, and Asif Zardari comes back and is the master of all his surveys. He ruined the party. He ruined everything. He made billions of rupees, bought the chateau in France, and fancy apartments in New York and in Dubai. And his son, of course, claims that this is all from honest money. Nobody tells us what they've ever earned in their life. The son, salute fellow, what has he ever earned in his life? Where does the money come from?
So let me ask you a quick last question before we let you go, Mr. Doval. Clearly, Madhavan's character is inspired from Doval. Even the look, and I mean, you can just tell it by looking at the photos. And these are of course real life pictures. But if you look at that intercut between Madhavan and Ajit Doval, you see that Mr. Madhavan has clearly modeled himself. There you can see it on Ajit Doval. Again, you and I haven't seen the movie. We hope to rectify that this weekend. But just a quick thought on Ajit Doval and how he captures so much of popular imagination. Nobody really knows him except maybe people like you who worked with him. Me as a young reporter used to interact with him. Now one doesn't have that access. But any sort of comment you'd like to make on Ajit Doval?
The good spooks in India never talk. Yeah. So I worked with Mr. Doval, not in what he is famous for, but when I was in the Vivekanand International Foundation, was at that point of time. And he's not a man of many words. He keeps quiet. He listens much more. People like him, people like Vikram Sood, who, a man I have great admiration for. I have known Vikram Sood, for example, for almost 30 years now.
Yeah.
I dislike the man immensely because not once has he said anything which is remotely controversial. We've had very good conversations, but never revealed anything what these guys have ever done. All of these, the good spooks never talk. People like Tilak Yogeshwar and all, they never talk. They keep silent. They'll talk about politics, contemporary stuff. What is the thing about Mr. Doval? He doesn't talk about what things are. Yes, on policy matters, I think he always had a very, very strong concept of how India should handle national security affairs. I think he was very uncompromising. And people think I'm uncompromising. You got to see Mr. Doval to understand him. Because it's very clear. He said, and I think one of his interviews, I think to Smita Prakash, he has said, look, you can't compromise with national security. You don't compromise with terrorism. So I think he was very clear. Even in those meetings we used to have in India, he was very hard on the issue of national security. He was one guy who always said, look, the Pakistanis are bullies, and the only way to treat a bully is to give him a bloody nose. So should have it's no surprise to anybody what India did after Uri, what India did, after Pahalgam, or after Balakot or in Balakot. These are things which, and I would imagine that Mr. Doval's boss is probably on the same page. These are guys, who are not ready to take Pakistani terrorism lying down. They are going to hit back and then really hard. So that is very clear, very uncompromising on issues of national security. He's not a guy who chases, the media or stuff like that. He will have a couple of people, I don't want to take names, through whom, if he wants to convey a message.
Of course.
I think we all know the names, but I don't think it's proper to name those names. In those, that they are coming from Mr. Doval. This is Mr. Doval talking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But for now, we're going to have... Sorry. I was just going to say, for now, we're going to have to satisfy ourselves watching Madhavan as Ajit Doval on the big screen. And Sushant, I'm looking forward to having another conversation with you after we've both seen the movie, because a lot of this is based on the rushes, and we're going to both see it this weekend. So that should be fun. Thank you so much, Sushant. It's been a great conversation, and look forward to a sequel after we come back with having actually gone deep into Dhurandhar. Thanks so much.
We can do that in March when the part 2 comes.
Okay, Sushant, thank you. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.